Okay, I'm just going to read one little thing here. Free to be sexual being and natural woman. A seducer must see women as human beings looking to explore and be explored. A seducer has no animosity towards women and accepts that women are human beings that have all the potential good and realistic faults that humans possess. Women are not two-dimensional fictional character types such as the perfect lady wife and the dirty bedroom whore. The same woman is capable of a wide variety of emotions and actions as any other human beings, male and female. Yes, they are all sluts. Well, only if you're lucky. Then you get to be a man whore too. Happy, happy, joy, joy. I love that.
Now, what is it about that you like?
I like that I don't want a man to be afraid of my sexuality and what I want, and of my putting a list on the table of how to satisfy me, because I do believe in a monogamous relationship. Sex is always better when you're in a relationship, I find. But I also don't want the same stuff. I don't want what you learned 10 years ago at a dorm. You know what I mean? I want that you're going to satisfy my needs and that you're okay with my being a sexual being. I know people who are in hapless marriages that just are not sexually on the same plane, and it's never going to work. If you are sexually not compatible, forget the marriage.
I agree.
Isn't that a horrible thing to say? Or
I agree 100% with everything you've said. One of the things I teach in my seminar is the first 10 times you have sex. As a man, it's your job to be responsible for the sex. It's your job to be responsible for the birth control, your job to be responsible for the sex. I go on to say in my book, this is why abortion really is a woman's issue. If she's gotten pregnant, it's because the man didn't do his job. He's responsible for the birth control.
Wow, how do they react to that?
Not very positively.
Right.
It's true, though. It's certainly a responsibility.
When I was lucky, I had an older brother, and he took me aside one day and he said, "Listen, birth control is always your responsibility, not the woman's. If she gets pregnant, it's your fault." And that did help shape some of the ways that I see the world. To go a step further, because it's a man's job to be responsible for the sex, it's his responsibility to make sure she enjoys it more than he does. Mm-hmm. So the first 10 times you have sex, you have to do something each time. The first time you have sex, you might want to try something. You might just want to try. Just have normal sex. Learn about each other's bodies. Mm-hmm. The next time you have sex, try something different. It could be a 6-hour game of foreplay. The next time you have sex, it could be a quickie. The next time you have sex, it could be something like experimenting with some BDSM, tying your partner up, or doing some skin sensation play. The next time you have sex could involve foods or syrup. The next time you have sex, you could do something in public. Showering together is another thing. Shaving your body hair together is another thing. The idea is that the first 10 times you have sex with anybody, each time has to be such a unique and different experience than the last.
And they should be something that's acceptable and actually sensuous to both parties.
Exactly. There has to be some level of consent. And when someone is not really into something, you should not be pushing that boundary. There's just too many women out there, too many opportunities. You don't need to press on someone's boundary if it's not working out.
Well, for example, you talked about the threesome. That certainly should be something that is an invitation by a woman as a conversation.
Absolutely not. If you're doing that, then that's a demonstration that you're not able to handle the sexuality. You need to be able to demonstrate that
you're saying that at the beginning of a relationship you should say you're interested in a threesome?
When the sexual topic comes up in any discussion as you're getting into a new relationship, it's so important to be honest. And you would be amazed that even if a woman is not into the whole threesome thing, she will respect you for being honest, saying that down the road, I want threesomes, I want this type of lifestyle. There's nothing worse than not bringing it up and still wanting it, because that's a sign for a woman. A woman doesn't take that as, oh, he was trying to scare me.
Because then a man will become passive-aggressive and start mentioning it in little things here and there, and the woman's going to say, are you trying to tell me you want a threesome? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Well, doesn't the concept even suggest that there's not enough in the woman that he's with?
Not at all.
No.
See, one thing, and I want to be fair here. Okay?
Check me out.
I want to be very fair here. Okay, I hear exactly what you're saying, Mark, and I used to think exactly like you.
Well, identify what it is that I'm saying.
The idea that you don't want to offend her by bringing up the idea of a threesome.
Well,
the idea that you're worried that by being honest about the things that you desire might end up hurting her or make her feel bad or give her low self-esteem. I used to think exactly that.
Well, I don't know that I would even desire that, because it's twice as much work, and it's also managing two relationships, because I would think that it's not just sex to me. I have one intimate partner, and I share that with her that she wants to explore. I'm monogamous, I guess, in that respect. So the whole idea of inviting a third person in, to me, threatens the integrity of the relationship. That I have made a commitment to that woman, unless she's said that she is curious in that respect, or even wants to introduce another person into the relationship. I would think that that would be an infringement on her, what you had used before, her
boundaries.
Her boundaries, but also her security.
Well,
fear of abandonment.
Yes, the fear of abandonment.
I think obviously this book isn't for everybody, and I think I don't know. I'm say, but there are men.
But what about that, Frank?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's look at that. If you do bring up the idea that you want to have sex with in a threesome or other women on the side, or be in an open relationship, yes, the fear of abandonment is an emotional need you will have to continually address.
Especially if there's no woman, no specific woman like her best friend. If it's just the idea, I've had a fantasy of having twins, I've had a fantasy of threesome, that really, I think, could be best kept as a fantasy to the woman that you're trying to have a real relationship with.
Real relationship. Okay.
An open, intimate, honest relationship.
I think
not
would
just
be
sex.
suppressing.
Not just sex. It's because I also think that foreplay is part of the sex and the discussion. The intimacy is also in the things that you share with that person that you don't talk to with anyone else. The way you make each other laugh might turn each other on. You talked about the spontaneous, a little bit in the kitchen while the children are watching television might be kind of a fun way to keep a relationship alive after you're married and have children. I don't know if you're just talking about sex or single people getting together for that relationship, or if you're talking about all relationships, including ones that are 20 years old and have children and might get stagnant.
I'm talking about all relationships. To bring up the example you used before, if you're going to wait for her to initiate even the discussion of living out fantasies, you're putting the responsibility of the sex in the relationship on the woman. And there's a difference between bringing up the topic of discussion and looking to explore that, and telling a woman what to do in terms of being a brute and overpowering her. I would suggest that you're always working to manage a relationship. When you were saying, well, that's two relationships and I have to manage two, you're always managing a relationship, regardless of the relationship you're in, whether it's in a sexual committed relationship, a strictly casual sexual relationship, a one-night stand, or even a friendship with no sex. You're always managing relationships.
But you talked about the guy who he was married and could have had a threesome with his wife's best friend. And had he learned to accept his wife's best friend as a person and love her like he loved his wife who loved that person, and came to a place of comfort where they could have shared intimacy because he wasn't hung up on the issue in itself, then his life would have certainly been enriched, their relationship would have been enriched, their friendship, but there's a but that you risk everything when you cross that line if you don't do it with respect.
Your relationship is always at risk. It's not just, well, if we do the threesome thing, our relationship is at risk then. If you don't live out your fantasies, and if you don't create an environment where you're actually able to discuss your fantasies with your partner, that's also putting your relationship at risk. I don't see a difference between the two. Just to finish up this thought, I can totally understand where you're coming from, but I'm on the other end of the spectrum, where I know what it is I want long term, and I will seek out to find a woman who can give me that long term, and I will be very honest about it right from the get-go. And women respect honesty, and in my book I define honesty for women, and that is this: if you're honest enough such that you're willing to tell her things that might even make her angry or upset her, that's when she knows you're truly being honest. And when you're withholding and when you're not bringing up certain topics because you're worried that it's going to make her feel bad,
you're in front of the internet watching porn at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what it is.
That's where it ends up. And that doesn't address her fear of abandonment any better. Be honest, and when she gets upset, know that it's a good thing. Remember, she needs the emotional range anyway. It's a perfect setup.